I have my 2021 KTM 350 EXC F. It's got a hydraulic clutch on it. So, depending on how you ride, dusty, sandy, dirty, power wash it and leave it wet. Sometimes your clutch lever will get sticky, squeaking, just not a smooth travel when you grip this thing. So today, real quick, I'm just going to show you how to free that up and get nice, smooth clutch use. So what you're going to need is an 8mm socket, well, two of them, or wrench or whatever, a little bit of grease. I use red and tacky, real fine grit, wet sandpaper, and some WD-40 and some rags. So basically you start by taking off the clutch lever, the 8mm on both sides. You just undo that. On these 350s, or these hydraulic clutch KTMs, there's a little spring in there with a little plastic kind of like guide rod that you really have to be careful not to let shoot out onto the floor and lost forever in your garage. So once you take the nut off, you just push the pivot pin, get one hand on your lever because that spring tension is going to want to push that out. So put that aside and put your hand underneath here and then just let the spring tension just kind of push it out. And then there's your spring. You can see it. Mine didn't shoot out, but it's right there. And just pull that out. As you can see, there's this very thin plastic guide rod with a rubber or a rounded edge on it that sits inside your perch. So you put all this out. I've already done this before I decided to make the video. So what you're going to want to do is you lay out your little components here. You have your lever, your nut, your pivot bolt, and your spring guide rod. And inside this Brembo lever, there's a little bushing or pivot pin you want to pull out and set aside too. Only goes in one way on the top side where the lip is. So basically, take your WD-40 and spray it all down. And what I did was I took fine grit sandpaper and cleaned just a little bit with the sandpaper and just cleaned all the edges on the pivot bushing and your guide pin or pivot pin. There's some probably just dried up water or crust or whatever that was on there. Sprayed it all down, wiped it all down, and then sanded it lightly. You don't have to sit there and grind them down, so just get all the surfaces nice and smooth. Then wipe it all down, take your grease, whatever grease you prefer. This just happens to be red and tacky. Wipe down all your surfaces with the grease, and then put your pivot pin in. Remember that lip right there goes on the top, and then your little spring and guide rod are going to go back in. So the freed up spring side is going to go inside the actual lever, and the rounded plastic piece is going to go inside your handlebar. So just kind of just get this in there started. And then what I also did was the little plunger that goes into your master cylinder. I cleaned and greased that too. Cleaned and greased the inside of the perch. And you kind of just wiggle that in until she gets into where you got to put your pivot bolt in. Boom, slide it in. Take the nut. I dabbed a little grease in there too, or pretty much grease wherever metal to metal makes contact. So now that it's on, just tighten. You don't have to torque this down to where your clutch is seized in your perch. It will just snug it up hand tight. Well, not hand tight, but just snug it up because you don't want to pinch these two pieces, and boom, now you have beautifully smooth, no squeaky, freed up clutch lever. That's pretty much it.